Hi there, welcome to this Alchemist Chemistry GCSE video looking at the chemical process known as rusting. So, rusting is effectively just a very specific form of corrosion of a metal and is unique to the metal iron. For rusting to occur, the iron must be in direct contact with both water and oxygen. Rusting is a reasonably detrimental process to allow to occur. It will weaken the iron structure. Rust itself is a compound and it is brittle and flaky. At GCSE, we say that rust is specifically hydrated iron 3 oxide as a name for that compound. Since rusting can compromise the structural integrity of iron as a metal, and it's found so ubiquitously in alloys such as steel, it's in our best interests to try and prevent rusting from occurring. And one of the simplest methods of doing so is known as the physical barrier method. This rust prevention method simply involves placing a layer of oil and grease or paint over the surface of the iron or steel object. This produces a physical barrier preventing contact between the iron metal and water and oxygen molecules, and therefore preventing rusting as a chemical reaction. But it is possible to take off the layers of grease or scratch the layer of paint, and therefore rusting can occur if that happens. The other added advantage of using grease or oil as a physical barrier method is it also is a lubricant and therefore will help metal moving parts to move over each other with less friction, and therefore could be useful in moving parts in machinery, for example. A more sophisticated method for preventing rusting is known as the sacrificial barrier method. This involves putting a more reactive metal, like zinc, on the surface of your iron object. The zinc is higher in the reactivity series than iron and will therefore oxidize first, preferentially instead of the iron. Now, amazingly, this small piece of zinc will actually protect a wider area of iron beneath it, and that's because of the redox reaction taking place I'm going to explain very shortly. But other methods which would fall into the sacrificial barrier category would include galvanization, which is kind of an interesting one because it's both a physical barrier as you dip an iron object into molten zinc to create a layer of zinc over the top of the object, but it will also be doing that sacrificial barrier protection as well. So galvanization, a good example of both a physical and sacrificial barrier at the same time. I'd like to finish by talking about the redox nature of that sacrificial protection provided by the more reactive zinc metal. Now, this is a simplified version of explanation. In reality, the redox chemistry is quite complex. At GCSE, we don't need to know about all that detail, so I'm going to keep it nice and simple for best understanding. Okay, so oxidation reactions involve the loss of electrons from a chemical species across the course of a chemical reaction, whilst reduction reactions involve the gaining of electrons by a chemical species across the course of a chemical reaction. And the mnemonic oil rig is designed as an aid memoir to help remember that that is the nature of oxidation and reduction reactions. These two half equations will help me to explain exactly how the zinc is protecting the iron from its oxidation reaction, preventing the rusting from taking place. So the zinc metal, which is more reactive, is being oxidized because it's losing 2 electrons as part of that oxidation reaction. So zinc atoms are becoming zinc ions and they're losing 2 electrons. Now those electrons are actively being transferred to any iron ions that are being formed in the rusting process. Those iron ions are being reduced as they're gaining 2 electrons from iron 2 plus ions plus 2 electrons back to iron metal. So it's as if the zinc atoms are sacrificing themselves to form zinc ions, giving up their electrons to be given to any iron ions that have formed in the rusting process, converting them back into pure iron and therefore stopping the oxidation of iron and therefore stopping the rusting process. That's how the sacrificial barrier is actively protecting the iron from oxidation and therefore from rusting. And there you have it. I hope you find this overview of GCSE rusting useful. And as always, guys, take care. Bye now.